Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something we all do but rarely think about, the fascinating psychology and structure behind exactly what we buy. We're going to take a journey starting from the physical goods you can literally hold in your hands, all the way to the invisible psychological magic of brand value. We interact with products and services every single day, right? But how often do we stop to consider how marketers meticulously design them to capture our attention and, let's be honest, our dollars? So let's kick things off with a slightly provocative question. Think about the last time you bought a pair of Nikes. This is a brand that just dominates, capturing over 50% of the global athletic footwear market. But when you actually hand over your credit card for those shoes, what are you buying? Is it really just rubber, foam, and mesh? Well, it's so much more than those physical materials. Sure, Nike offers some incredibly cutting-edge, app-based scanning tech using computer vision and AI to get you that perfect fit. But beyond the physical innovation, they're selling a lifestyle. They're selling a passion for sports, that iconic just-do-it attitude, and a totally immersive brand experience. There's a quote that just hits the nail on the head here. Customers don't just wear their Nikes, they experience them. You're buying into a story. To make sense of all this, here's our roadmap for today. First, what are you really buying? Second, managing the product portfolio. Third, marketing the invisible, services. And fourth, building strong brand equity. Let's jump right in. Section 1. What are you really buying? Unpacking the layers of customer value. Let's zoom in on those physical objects we buy to understand how marketers build them from the ground up to create genuine value. The secret here is that every single product is strategically built on three very distinct layers. Step 1 is the core customer value. This is the heart of the whole thing. What problem are you actually trying to solve? Step 2 is the actual product. This is where marketers wrap that core value up in tangible features, slick design, a specific quality level, and a brand name. And finally, step 3 is the augmented product. These are the extra services that round out your experience, like solid customer support, a great warranty, or really fast delivery. So the takeaway, you are never just buying the item itself. You're buying this entire three-layered package. Moving on to Section 2, managing the product portfolio, organizing what a company sells. Because once a company figures out how to design its individual products, it hits a brand new challenge. How do all these different products actually fit together into a cohesive portfolio? Well, there's a really fascinating contrast between two major growth strategies here. On one hand, you've got product line stretching. Think of this as staying in your lane but expanding it. You might stretch downward by offering a cheaper version of your product to grab those budget-conscious shoppers, or stretch upward with a fancy premium version. On the other hand, you have brand extension. Now, this is a much bolder move. This involves taking your established brand name and jumping into a completely new or modified category. Both are absolutely powerful ways to grow, but they have totally different dynamics. Let's look at the real-world math behind this using Coca-Cola. When they rolled out Coke Plus, which was a line extension marketed as a health drink with added dietary fiber, they had to crunch the numbers carefully. Coke Plus had a higher wholesale price, sure, but also significantly higher variable costs. That meant the unit contribution, basically their profit per bottle, was actually lower than the original Coke Zero, 40 cents versus 60 cents. They also fully knew Coke Plus would cannibalize or eat into some of their existing Coke Zero sales. But guess what? The math totally worked. By pulling in net new volume from health-conscious buyers, this strategic stretch ultimately brought in over $3.6 million in net new contribution for the company. So even with a lower margin per bottle, it was a calculated risk that paid off beautifully. Okay, Section 3, marketing the invisible, services, selling experiences rather than objects. As our economy evolves, physical products are getting more commoditized, right? So companies are shifting focus to selling experiences. We're crossing over from the physical world to the purely experiential. Every single thing you buy sits somewhere on a spectrum. On one far end, you have a pure tangible good. Think of a Dyson vacuum cleaner. It's heavily engineered, extremely physical, and packed with wild features like piezo sensors and laser illumination for dust. You can touch it, you can take it apart, and you can watch TikTok influencers physically demonstrate it. But on the exact opposite end, you have a pure service, like a medical checkup. You aren't walking out of there with an object. You are paying entirely for an intangible experience and someone's expertise. And because services are basically invisible, they have 4 rapid-fire traits that make them incredibly tricky to market. Number 1 is intangibility. You just can't see, taste, or feel the service before you pay for it. Number 2 is inseparability. You can't separate the service from the person delivering it. Number 3 is variability. The quality can fluctuate wildly depending on exactly who, when, and where the service is provided. And finally, perishability. You absolutely cannot store a missed doctor's appointment or an empty restaurant table in a warehouse to sell tomorrow. Once the clock ticks past that moment, the opportunity is gone forever. So you might be wondering, how on earth do companies manage all that variability and still deliver a great experience every time? The smart ones rely on the service profit chain. Take a company like Chick-fil-A. They totally get that happy customers start from the inside out. This chain essentially proves that if you take care of your frontline employees, giving them a great work environment and internal support, you naturally get satisfied, hardworking staff. Those happy employees then deliver much greater service value. That directly creates highly satisfied, fiercely loyal customers who keep coming back, and that leads directly to healthy profits and growth. If you want to market the invisible, it literally all starts with how you treat your team. Which brings us to Section 4, Building Strong Brand Equity, the ultimate intangible asset. This is the climax of our tangible to intangible journey today. We're looking at the absolute most powerful, yet completely invisible asset a company can have, a strong brand. So what exactly is brand equity? It's that magic premium. Simply put, it's the measurable difference in your psychological reaction and your willingness to open your wallet just because you recognize the name or the logo on the box. It's the whole reason you might happily pay double for a coffee or a hoodie just because of the brand attached to it. When a company has high brand equity, they have high customer awareness, intense loyalty, and just tremendous leverage in the marketplace. And to really drive this home, let's look at one massive number: 90%. That is the U.S. market share currently held by avocados from Mexico. Let that sink in for a second. Produce is a category where branding historically has meant almost nothing. An avocado is literally a brandless agricultural commodity. But through incredibly brilliant, engaging marketing, avocados from Mexico built fierce brand equity. They turned a basic green fruit into a market-dominating powerhouse. It just goes to show, with the right strategy, you can build powerful brand equity into literally anything. But here's the twist. It's not just the big national manufacturers playing this game anymore. Retailers are aggressively capitalizing on this psychology too, in what's known as the battle of the brands. With tougher economic times, we've seen a massive boom in store brands, or private labels. These private labels are now capturing over 25% of all supermarket sales at places like Aldi. Because the retailers control the actual physical shelf space, they can offer lower prices while keeping higher profit margins for themselves. They're building formidable brand equity right inside their own stores, directly challenging the big traditional national brands. Well, we've covered a ton of ground today, transitioning all the way from the physical nuts and bolts of a product to the invisible, undeniable power of brand equity. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to think about. The next time you grab your morning coffee, order a new pair of shoes, or even just buy dish soap, pause for a second. Ask yourself, are you really just paying for the physical product? Or are you secretly buying the invisible comfort, the status, and the story of that brand experience? Thanks for joining me today, and keep questioning what's really behind the things you buy.